breakfast show.
Thank you.
One thing that has been absolutely fascinating has been your name, Denittah Ghati.
Yes.
I mean, what does it mean? From which community, perhaps?
Really no meaning. Denittah is, I believe, is a Christian name. I think my parents would better, say it. I know Ghati. Ghati means firstborn. I come from the Kuria community.
Kuria community?
Yes, Kuria community is just basically in Migori County. And we are a minority community in the county. So that is how my name came into being. So Ghati basically means firstborn.
Firstborn.
But I'm not a firstborn.
Absolutely. I mean, you were born in a family of 7,
yes.
5 girls, 2 boys.
Absolutely.
Did you ever envision that perhaps one day you would actually be a leader?
Not really. Not really. But when I was growing up, I knew what I wanted to do because I wanted to be a lawyer. I've always wanted to champion issues of girls, especially adolescent girls and women, because I come from a community where historically and traditionally women and girls are never viewed, as very much, high up there. So as I was growing up, I'm definitely one of the people who, passed through, was subjected or was at near subjection to, very many issues, very many cultural issues that basically are performed in the community. The community has issues of, you understand the female genital cutting issue. The community has issues of early marriage. So I was almost falling a victim of those things, of those cultures. But funny enough, I survived because I would go to a convent. A nun's, my aunt, who happened to be a nun, would actually accommodate me in her convent when schools close, because that is a season when girls are usually subjected, to those cultural rights. So I survived, and so I could see how girls my age at that time were really being finding it very, very, very rough. So I really grew up knowing that I wanted to defend the rights of girls and children, and especially and also women.
Right. Just to take you back, of course, you mentioned the fact that you actually escaped from the cultural right. Sort of traps. Because we're talking about female genital mutilation, early marriage. And at the age of 12, you actually left home. And that sort of opened a new page in your life. How was that? What was going through your mind when you decided, you know what, this is culturally all right, but it's not all right for me?
Funny enough, I knew it was wrong because I happened to have gone into, I'm very prayerful myself. So during school holidays, I would actually visit, as I say, I would visit my aunt who was a nun, and therefore I knew what was right and what was wrong because I was seeing girls as young as 9, 10, 11, being forced out of school. Those were my age mates to undergo FGM, for example. And after FGM, FGM is basically a prerequisite for marriage. So I knew that there was something wrong. I knew because I could see how they were suffering, and therefore I really had to do something. That is why I decided to keep on running. When schools closed, I could actually find refuge in the convent. So that is how, and while at the convent, we could undergo a lot of trainings as girls. So that is why I felt that, there was something really not right in the community. Because other communities were at least moving on forward. And when we could go to school, we border our neighbors, the Luos, they don't practice, things like that. And at school, you could see how they were so relaxed and so, participative in class. And, and for us, as girls from the community, we were feeling like there is something really, but at the back of your mind, you're feeling if the schools close, for example, you are supposed to, undergo FGM. Early marriage was immediately to follow after FGM. So we kind of felt like we were underdogs in class. And for me, that was the point, the breaking point where I felt something has to be done. But I didn't know what was to be done. So for me, the only thing I could do was to run away, during school holidays and, find my way. I know my parents were very supportive at that time, and I think I really want to thank them because I think they knew the value of education. So they, especially my mother, She was always there. She was always ready to enable me also, escape and go to the convent. So it was how it was. So for me, at a very early age, I noticed that there was something that was not right in my community, and that is how I have grown to actually think and know that I really have to champion. Even when I was thinking about, becoming a lawyer, I knew that these were some of the injustices that I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to make sure that I could provide community lawyering so that girls and women who were experiencing, such like things could actually find refuge, could find somebody who could talk for them. But somehow, as fate would have it, I never became a lawyer. But I'm one person who, everybody thinks I'm a lawyer.
I mean, just looking at even what you've done so far,
Right.
It's an amazing one. In fact, somebody here, Bon Awendo from Town Council, says, Denittah, we are always with you. We know you will perform.
Right.
An amazing context message there. There are a couple of things that you've mentioned, and one perhaps that I'd want us to pursue further is the place of education, because there are communities who still feel, you know what, this is our own. Female genital mutilation, you cannot take it away from us. And you also mention, when it comes to female genital mutilation, it's not just physical, it's also psychological.
It is psychological. It is psychological because immediately, and that's why I was saying, for girls from the community, if you are in school, and this is a season that, FGM is going to be performed, definitely not perform in school because you are worried. You want to really run away. You are not sure if you want schools closed, at the holidays because you are definitely going home.
To face the cat.
Yeah, to face the cat. So there are a lot of things that have been happening. And that is why, for me, from where I come from, I have been very, very instrumental because I was helped to escape. I have been very much in the forefront to make sure that girls who are at risk of undergoing, because it's still going on, as much as, despite the fact that we have the law, the constitution is very clear that
but it's still going on.
It's still going on. And there are communities in this country that still practice that FGM, it just goes on unabated. So what I have been doing, because I was also helped, is to make sure that I mobilize with the help of teachers, with the help of community leaders, especially women leaders, mobilize and identify girls who are most at risk of undergoing FGM. That we do through schools, because teachers can actually identify and tell you that this girl actually has a problem. And probably that problem is the fear that, FGM is coming, or there is early marriage, there's what. So we identify and rescue those girls and take them to a rescue center. We have worked very well with churches and the children's office, trying to rescue girls from FGM, because we know that immediately there is FGM, your life is cut off. Your education cannot go on. So that is why you're finding a lot of girls, especially from where I come from, girls my age, you'll find they have, so many children, or some of them have even divorced because, you were cut, then you were married immediately. And, as you grow, you now begin to notice that, oh my God, I think this is not the right person I married, because you were actually forced into that marriage, because immediately you're cut, you're supposed to get married. Your education stops. So that is why you're finding that as they grow, you have to also divorce, because somehow you notice this is not the right partner for me. So I am trying to rescue girls from undergoing the cut, because I know that once education is interfered with, your life is done. Your life is done. So that is why I'm so very passionate about education. Education for me, because I was educated by others. I feel that education is the only way that can lift girls out of poverty, especially girls who have no godfathers, like myself. People who have no godfathers or no godmothers, people who have no people near government or near positions of leadership. It is only education. Having the right papers will definitely enable girls to, to transform gracefully into adulthood with good employment. By the way, you know that if a girl extends secondary education by a year, it definitely translates into a reduction of the number of children, for example, that she gives birth. Wow. Because there is a correlation between education and family planning, education and spacing your children. So what I do in my constituency, and especially in my county, because now Migori County is my constituency. I am in charge of Migori County as the women representative, is to make sure that every girl in Migori County gets access to education. Mm-hmm. Education, as I say, is the only weapon that can lift girls out of poverty, that can help girls understand what is supposed to be done.
Absolutely. Very important indeed. And of course, we want you to be part of this particular session here. You can send in your comments to 2442. That's 2442. We're basically talking about women and leadership. Of course, you've mentioned about education. Yeah. But perhaps one thing that is really a worrying trend in our Kenyan scenario is the place of women in leadership. Mm-hmm. You just need to look at what happened during the elections. Mm-hmm. No woman was elected as governor or even senator. Yes. According to the dailies today, when it comes to representation, we're operating on 10%. Mm-hmm. Other countries are actually operating on 30 to even 60%.
Right. Exactly.
What is your plan? What is your agenda to actually, perhaps in the next 5 years, what is your plan to make sure that people begin to see women as people who can actually lead this country?
People need to see women. People need to value women. And it all starts with the way we are socialized. And that's why I would say socialization, the way you are brought up, is very, very important. Women's lack of resources. One of the key challenges that actually prevents women even from accessing and getting into leadership is resources. Women do not have finances to campaign. Women have the zeal. Women have the determination. But because they actually lack, you know, they lack resources, they lack money. And that basically goes back to the way women are socialized. Because women, from the way you are born, I mean, look at the way so communities all over celebrate. If, for example, it's a girl who is born versus a boy, how do we communities celebrate? So differently. And you can see that that socialization begins immediately. A girl is, for example, given you know, a chicken. If a daughter is born, she's given a chicken. If a boy is born, he's given a cow. You know, the way we bring up our children right from birth up to, you know, what they translate to in future really needs to change. We need to look at resources. We need to empower our women. Poverty remains a key challenge for women to participate in leadership, because women need resources. They need to put materials, they need to put t-shirts, they need to put posters, so that is why we need to really look at how do we economically empower our girls and our women, so that in future, once, you know, when women are economically empowered, you know, they relax, they're okay. They're able to take care of themselves. That is why I say resources is a problem. And that is why when I look at what I want to do and relate that to exactly what I want to do for me, for the women, so that they're also able to participate, is that I want to really have these women mobilized properly. Because right now we have funding that the president has is putting aside for women. That money that was supposed to, you know, go for the rerun, if at all we were to go for a rerun.
6 billion.
The 6 billion. That money is supposed to actually now fund women-focused projects, youth-focused projects. So I look at that as an opportunity to put women into very active groups. Young people also need to be into very active groups, so that now from there we are capacity building these women. Financial education. Political leadership participation, so that they're able to use that, their strength in terms of economic strength, to participate in public life. Let me tell you, political parties have also been a very big letdown to women. Women who want to participate, because for women in this country, women who have to fight it out with men, you know, I mean, we are in a patriarchal society. It is very difficult for a woman to participate and actually win an election with a man if you're not in a political party. Political parties have been very, very gender insensitive. Right from the way they conduct elections, you do not find a woman in any structure of leadership in a political party, right from the locations, coming down to what we're calling the sub-branch, coming to county levels. So we find that political parties tend to bar women from accessing leadership positions. If you look at all our political parties, look at TNA, look at ODM, look at you know, these other political parties, you'll find there are actually no women who are chairmen of political parties, who are secretaries or treasurers, you know, those big positions that actually places women at the center. So you find women are really relegated to being, you know, members, what we are calling delegates. I know I'm one of those people who are delegates. So we really need to sensitize these political parties so that they are also able to create space. And you see, it is very hard for a woman to participate in politics and actually win as an independent candidate. You know how stringent it is to participate as an independent candidate. How many women can get all those signatures that are required as an independent candidate? So what we are saying is that political parties for a long time have been a very big letdown to women. Political parties have never supported a woman, even when a woman is strong versus a man. A political party would rather, you know, they bring up this man to participate and actually help this man to campaign and leave a very able woman who would otherwise even have delivered. So there is a way we have to change the mindsets and change the way political parties look at things. Look at culture. Communities that traditionally do not believe that women can be something, they have been a very big impediment. They have been a very big impediment. They do not see a woman as somebody who can actually move beyond. And we have communities in this country that are like that. They really do not. They do not believe in women leadership. So they would definitely want to bring you down
right.
all the time.
I mean, you've spoken about the place of political parties and the cultural practices that we have. What about women themselves? Because if we are saying that women cannot actually take part in leadership because of political parties and cultural practices, what about women supporting their own?
Women support their own. I want to give an example of where I come from because I represent the people of Migori. And my own experience is that actually women turn out in large numbers. It is how you engage. It is actually how we engage the women. It is the language that probably aspirants use to get the women. I really want to differ because people say women do not support themselves, their own. But I really do not agree because I got a lot of support from women. And that's why I'm saying it is how we engage and trying to also sensitize women, especially from areas where you see women do not understand. Because one of the big problems that women maybe you seem to see that they do not support themselves is lack of information. Civic education is very important, so that women can be able to use you know, the numerical strength to support other women. And you know what? You know, men are very good at that. Men are very good at mobilizing themselves, and when they see a strong woman and you're having a backup of women, they kind of want to divide that. You know, men they divide and rule. Rule. But I want to say the reason why probably we see that women do not support themselves is because women, and it's how we've been socialized. It is because also women do not probably have the correct information. What is it in women's leadership that can actually help? So that is why we really need a lot of civic education. We need to make sure that most of our women, especially our grassroots women, get the correct information, and therefore they are able to see that actually women's leadership is the most, women's leadership is the most sane leadership that we have. It's the most organized.
Organized, absolutely. Well, of course, other people would term that as debatable because it basically depends on the person's way of leadership. A great deal of comments are coming in. We have Kenneth Owino from Migori says, "We love you, Mheshimiwa, keep it up." We have Cherono from Nairobi. "Congratulations, madam. God will be with you all through. You have what it takes to tackle the task ahead." Now, talking about the cultural dynamics, because if you look at the rural areas, the cultural dynamics are different from what we experience in urban areas. Right. Because in urban areas, we have women who are economically empowered. But now the image of a woman in society. In the rural area, you see a woman who is downtrodden, a woman who is seen as a tool to be used. But in the urban area, you see a woman who is now being viewed as a sexual tool, not so much about the content they have. What is your plan to sort of change that image so that women are seen as women of substance and consequence and not just sexual tools?
In fact, women, I must say I am a woman. I'm a rural woman. I'm a grassroots woman. For what we need to do in terms of women like ourselves, I think also the way we carry ourselves. The way we carry ourselves really, brings in a lot of perception out there. And therefore, I want to just say that in terms of the way we see women, we need to make sure that we are seeing women as useful, as basically as people who are equal partners in development. We see grassroots women, and we also have to have, we tend to segregate women and say these are grassroots women, these are lipstick women, these are town-based women. So therefore, what I would advise and what I want to really lobby and advocate for is the fact that we need to get like more funding, more capacity building, so that we see women as people of value. We also need to instill, that self-esteem, that confidence in women themselves, so that women are can see themselves as equal partners, as people who can contribute. They have something, especially urban women have something that they can offer. Rural women have they're as equal as urban women. So we are trying to see how do we bridge that gap, so that we're not saying this woman is town-based and this one, a woman is a woman, whether you're in urban, whether you're in rural. So what we are trying to do is trying to look at programs that can actually empower both women that are in rural areas, women that are in urban areas. So it is a matter of capacity building of our women so that they're also able to participate. By the way, when I was campaigning, I came across very, very, very strong and powerful women. And that's why I'm saying the biggest challenge that women, especially grassroots women, are facing is finances. Is finances and that lack of information. Usually the information that we have at the national level does not trickle down to grassroots. So women at the grassroots are really cut off from understanding what is happening at, for example, party headquarters, what is happening on the national level. So we need to kind of bridge that gap so that we are also having things like mentorship programs. Right. Women in rural areas tend to look at women, urban-based women, as women who have all the information, women who have resources, women who have the connections, things like that. And that is what we want to see. How can we integrate, these classes of women so that, we are also able to exchange ideas, we are able to network very well so that, we share what we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a concern here, of course, congratulatory remarks are coming in large numbers, but there's a concern here from Lumbi from Nairobi. Lumbi says, it is important for women county representatives to understand their positions are not about women issues only, because so far we've been talking about women, but do you have an agenda for other people who are not necessarily women?
Definitely, and I think that is it. I think Louis is correct, because when this position for women representative was created in the Constitution in 2010, that is a position, that is actually an affirmative action position that was basically put there in order to address the gender imbalance and especially to the shortfall of women. Because we noticed that if you could leave women and men to participate
in an unfair
men are unfair. So therefore we saw that as a very positive, it's a positive discrimination that was put in there so that we could create the 47 women representing the 47 counties. And for that position, and I must agree with Louis, because this is a position that I am not working for the women themselves. But one of the agendas that I will be articulating in the National Assembly are issues of women. It is just that it was an affirmative action. And that is why you see, if it was a position that I was supposed to be working for women, only women would have been allowed to vote. But now I wanted to actually let Louis know that this position is basically not focusing on women alone. If you look at the mandate and the JD of a women representative, is the JD of an MP, a single
JD
member MP,
meaning?
Job description.
Okay.
That is the role. That is the role of a women representative. Is the same role of an MP. If, for example, you look at issues of legislation, if you're looking at the issues of oversight in the National Assembly, and also definitely articulating the issues of women, and also taking part in terms of, we can actually, come up with proceedings, or we can initiate an action that can actually go to investigate the deputy president or the president. So our role as women representatives is not confined to just articulating issues of women. Women are in the agenda. We are the faces of women in the counties that we have. But that is not it. And that is why when we develop, like when I have my own agenda, I have my agenda for Migori County as Migori County, women, men, and youth. That was my agenda. If, for instance, you look at my agenda 1 that I have developed and what I want to work for Migori County is economic empowerment. Economic empowerment for our women is very, very critical. If you look at my agenda number 2, is definitely youth employment, youth empowerment, youth development. If you look at my agenda number 3, is issues to do with girl child education, because we are down. I look at issues of healthcare. I look at issues of food security. Those are very, very critical agenda. Those are very critical areas in terms of developing my county. And if I'll get an opportunity, I'll explain my agenda for the county of Migori.
Absolutely.
And that is what I want to do.
Absolutely. In fact, you have a very elaborate website where you actually outline all your 4 key agenda. Right. Amazing indeed. But perhaps your final word to the people of Migori County, because a lot of the comments that are coming in are actually from people from your county. What is your message to them in terms of moving forward?
My parting shot. First of all, I really want to thank the people of the county. Migori County is big, and Migori County voted unanimously for me as their women preferred candidate, as their preferred women representative. And I want to thank them very, very profoundly. I want to ask the people of Migori County. Migori County is one very, very cosmopolitan county. We live with all communities, all tribes in this country live in Migori, because it's also a business hub at the border of Tanzania. So I want to really ask, first of all, that the people of Migori County place their trust in me, the same way they had their trust during election, because I definitely will have to deliver. I have to deliver for women, for the youth, for the men of Migori County. I want to ask Migori County to really live in harmony, because one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in a cosmopolitan place like that, where all political parties, found their ways in there, is the whole issue of peace and unity and how to live together. So I'm requesting and I'm asking the people of Migori County to actually live in harmony, respecting each other, irrespective of their political affiliations. That is the only way we are going to work together. And I want to assure the people of the county that I, as the women representative, I definitely will have to work together with the governor that was elected, with the senator that was elected, with all the MPs, because Migori County constitutes 8 constituencies. We have Nyatike, we have Rongo, we have Awendo, we have Uriri, we have Suna East, we have Suna West, we have Kuria East and Kuria West. So all these constituencies definitely have to come together. They have to have a converging point, because we are the people who have to develop ourselves. I strongly believe, and I've always believed, that solutions to local problems basically lie with the local people. We cannot expect people from outside to come and help build the Migori County. We have to exercise and utilize the resources that we have. By the way, Migori County is a very rich county. But we really need the leadership that, that people can trust, that people can really invest in. Because we want to exploit, we want to bring in people who can exploit the rivers that we have to irrigate. It is not, for me, I always see, the potential. We have rivers, River Migori, we have River Kuja. But you find that there are areas in Migori that actually can, in this time and era, can actually be receiving food aid. Or, dry areas that if it does not rain, from the natural rain, then people are poor. We really have to devise very, very, very creative ways that we can irrigate the various huge tracts of land that we have in Migori. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of tourist attraction sites in Migori. These are the things that I really want to work very closely with the Ministry of Tourism so that we can revive. We have one called Timlish Oinga. That is somewhere between Migori and Nyatike. That is a tourist site that can be revived so that our women are able to, it's able to attract tourists who come there. And once tourists are there, the women are also able to sell their, their wares so that they can also generate income and feed their families. We have a lot of resources. Kuria has a lot of animals. Why is it that we cannot put a factory there? So we really need to be creative and see how do we utilize what we have so that we are self-sustaining as a county. As a women representative of the county, I want to really say that I am up to the task. And we're following up with the President's pledge of the 6 billion, which is we are now working on modalities and structures of how these funds are going to be distributed to the counties through the women representatives, so that once we have these monies in place, we're able now to come up with projects that we want to support that are going to be in line with what, for example, CDF has been supporting, with what all this Women Enterprise Fund, all these funds that are available for women, that are available for the youth, that are available for the old people.
Mm-hmm. All right. So many thanks indeed, of course. As your women representative, people of Migori County, she says she's up to the task and, of course, looking for local solutions that will stand out. And one key message has been that regardless of our different political affiliations, we have to move on together as one people to see the development of our different areas. Talking to Denittah Ghati, women representative from Migori County. We'll be right back.